Brazil's 2026 World Cup roster has been revealed, and people were nervous about it. There was a lot of tension surrounding it, mainly because of the whole Neymar situation. Now, fast forward to today, we all know that Neymar has been called in. Neymar is back with the national team. If you go back to my videos in March, I thought Neymar was done. I did not think Neymar was ever going to play for the national team again, but he's back. And despite many people calling me a Neymar hater for that, Neymar is my second favorite Brazilian player of all time, only behind Ronaldo R9. I'm a massive Neymar fan. I'm not a Neymar hater. I was just being real about it. And we're going to talk about Neymar very soon. And I'm happy that he's back because I do want him to have one World Cup trophy by the time he ends his career. And this is definitely his last World Cup. Now, we're not here to talk about Neymar specifically today. We're here to talk about this Brazilian roster, the squad. Are they good enough to win the World Cup? Are they World Cup contenders? Pretenders? Are people only putting them as title contenders just because it's Brazil, or are they actually good enough? Let's talk about it. Hello. If you're new here, I'm Filippo, and welcome to Chapéu Football, where we provide the best coverage of South American football in English on YouTube. Obviously, we're more focused in Brazil because I'm Brazilian American, but we do cover South American football, so make sure you subscribe for that. Or don't subscribe. I honestly can't do anything about it. Literally do whatever the heck you want. Today, I want to do a full breakdown of the Brazilian World Cup roster. Then I want to go through 5 lessons that we learned from it. And understand that this roster that Ancelotti put out is not very controversial. So if you came here expecting some crazy hot takes, that ain't happening. I'm going to try to be rational. I have some very harsh takes, and I have a lot of concerns when looking at some of the names that are there. But the roster itself, for the Brazilian players that are out there, it wasn't really that controversial. Was it perfect? No, but again, not controversial. But there's a lot of things to criticize and talk about, obviously, and it's much tougher to criticize now. After the World Cup happens, if Brazil loses, it's very easy to criticize the guy if he made a mistake here and there and all that. But the tough part is to try to predict what are the issues based on what we're seeing right now. Now listen, in regards to how Carlo Ancelotti will utilize Neymar in the World Cup, we're going to make a video, a tactical breakdown for that later this week. Expect it to be out on Thursday or Friday, okay? It's how Ancelotti plans to utilize Neymar in the World Cup. With that said, don't forget to drop a like in this video. Just do it right now. It's a great way to support the channel. Make sure to subscribe, and let's begin the episode. Okay, let's go through the roster. Now, listen, before we go through the roster, just to remind you, Rodrigo, Militão, and Estevão were all not available due to injury. If they were healthy, they would have been in the World Cup squad. So, once I'm done going through all the names, I'm going to rate this squad from 1 to 10, with 5 being average, okay? And you can let me know in the comment section down below, what do you rate this Brazilian roster from 1 to 10? Remember, 5 is not bad, 5 is average. Okay, let's start the goalkeeper. So, Carlo Ancelotti has brought in Alisson from Liverpool, Ederson from Fenerbahce, and Weverton, the experienced goalkeeper from Grêmio that was playing for Palmeiras for multiple years. Listen, Alisson and Ederson were locks with Carlo Ancelotti. Alisson is very likely number 1. Ederson is very likely number 2. Weverton, I guess he was competing with Bento, that has been not so good for Saudi Arabia, and Hugo from Corinthians, that I honestly don't trust unless we're going to penalty shootouts. I'm okay. Weverton's experienced, a good group guy, has won a lot of trophies with Palmeiras when he played there. So the goalkeeper position, I have concerns there, which we're going to talk about later in this video, especially with the depth. I don't trust anyone besides Alisson, and we don't even know if Alisson is 100%. So there are concerns there. We'll talk about that later. But now let's talk about the defenders, okay? Which would be the center backs and the fullbacks. Okay, so defenders, he brought Alexandro, the left back that can play center back for Flamengo, Bremer, the center back from Juventus, Danilo, the right back and center back for Flamengo. I honestly don't understand why he's bringing Danilo. I know he's going to claim that it's because of leadership and the group. It's just that I just don't see what he will contribute on the field. But we'll talk more about that very soon. He also is bringing in Douglas Santos, the left back from Zenit, Gabriel Magalhães from Arsenal, Roger Ibanez from Al Ahly in Saudi Arabia, Léo Pereira from Flamengo, this guy seems to really like Flamengo, Marquinhos from PSG, and Wesley from Roma. I have a lot of concerns here. We'll talk about that very soon, especially when it comes to depth, and fullback is just very concerning in general. Yes, if you're a Brazil national team fan and you look at the fullbacks option for a country that has had Dani Alves, Marcelo, Cafu, Roberto Carlos, and many others, that was a major downfall. That's pretty bad. Now let's talk about the midfielders. For the midfield, he brought in Bruno Guimarães from Newcastle, Casemiro from Manchester United, Danilo from Botafogo, very good player right there, Fabinho from Al Ittihad, and Lucas Paquetá from Flamengo, another Flamengo player. Carlo Ancelotti might as well be a Flamengo fan at this point. And honestly, when it comes to the midfield, because of all the forward options that we have, and I know Paquetá can play the 10, can be more of an attacking midfielder, can play an 8, a central midfielder, I would bring André Santos over Paquetá. That's my only complaint there. Now, I do have concerns about Casemiro. Sometimes when he runs, it looks like he's wearing jeans pants. He's old. But looking at the options, Casemiro, Fabinho, that's fine. I would have just brought André Santos instead of Lucas Paquetá. That has not been great for Flamengo, let's be honest. Last but not least, the forwards, which would be the attacking midfielders, wingers, and center forwards. And for that one, he brought in Endrick from Lyon, Gabriel Martinelli from Arsenal, Igor Thiago from Brentford, the center forward, Luis Henrique from Zenit, Mateus Cunha from Manchester United, Neymar from Santos, he's back, Rafinha from Barcelona, Ryan from Bournemouth, and Vinicius Jr. from Real Madrid. Now, here, the only thing I would change would honestly be João Pedro for Igor Thiago. Now, I understand why he's bringing Igor Thiago. He's a bigger presence up top. In the one game he played, it was the Croatia game, he actually did well. While João Pedro played, 7 to 8 games for Brazil. Didn't really score, didn't do much. But João Pedro is the better player. I would bring João Pedro. However, I understand the train of thought with Ancelotti, a guy that was more reliable for the national team, and a guy that brings different attributes, right? Igor Thiago is a unique player profile that this roster doesn't have. He wanted a balanced roster. So I would bring João Pedro, but I understand why Ancelotti chose Igor Thiago. So you may be wondering, what do you rate this roster from 1 to 10? And understand, when you're rating this roster, you have to look into what options Brazil has. I thought that Ancelotti could have done a better job with, like I said, João Pedro instead of Igor Thiago, André Santos instead of, André Santos instead of Lucas Paquetá. And he could have done a bit better when it comes to fullbacks, right? He has better fullbacks options on the left back position and right back position, especially when you take into consideration that he didn't have to bring Alexandro and Danilo and he brought both of them. So there's going to be issues there when it comes to depth. And Wesley should be there, but I don't trust him fully. We're going to talk about that in a second. But when you look at the overall roster, he mainly called the best players possible, right? In my opinion. And I like the fact that he included Neymar, Ryan. I give this roster an 8.5 out of 10, which is not bad. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below. Don't forget to drop a like in this video, subscribe. And now let's go through my 5 lessons. Lesson number 1, it is that Carlo Ancelotti knew exactly what he was doing with Neymar. Everything he did up till now was to create the current situation. And understand what I'm going to say. It's hard to see it when it's happening, but looking back at it, for example, not calling up Neymar in March, right? He could have brought him in. I think the plan from the get-go was to bring Neymar to the World Cup. But he wanted to create this tension. He wanted to keep Neymar focused on the World Cup and create this environment with the players where the players were asking for Neymar. They wanted Neymar there. And he created something where now the players are going to play for Brazil, of course, that's what they're representing, but they're also going to play for Neymar. His legacy is on the line. He made everything very tense, made Neymar the focus, on accident or not, I think it was on purpose, so now his legacy is on the line. Neymar winning or losing this World Cup will be what people will remember him for, because that's how it works in Brazil, right? If you never win a World Cup, you're a failure. If you win a World Cup, you're a genius. You're the best. You're the greatest of all time. So that's how it works there. And Ancelotti understands that. And he created this environment. And he's trying to do something like what Argentina did with Messi in 2022. Now, mind you, Messi is a level above Neymar. I'm not even arguing that. But what he's trying to make is for the players to play for something more than just Brazil. They're also playing for Neymar's legacy. And looking back at everything Ancelotti has said about Neymar, his actions of never calling him up and then calling him up in the last roster where Neymar, honestly, he's not doing bad for Santos and he's very fit now, but he's also not shining incredibly like he has in the past, right? It's not the same Neymar. But I think Carlo Ancelotti understands that Neymar's importance is not just on the field. It's also off. It's how he'll influence the squad. I think it was a good call from Ancelotti. Some people disagree. Some people don't want Neymar there. I think he made the right call. Lesson number 2 is that the goalkeeper depth situation is very concerning. So, Everton, as a Palmeiras fan, he wasn't doing great for Palmeiras. That's one of the reasons why he left and went to Grêmio. They didn't want to renew. The fans were tired of him. He had those like dinosaur arms that he could never reach the ball. So, Everton wasn't great for Palmeiras. He's a good goalkeeper, but he wasn't great. He's older. He's past his prime. Ederson, I don't trust. One, he's a freaking lunatic with his feet. He'll risk it all for just a nice or cool pass. And he doesn't make the big saves you need a goalkeeper to make if you want to win the World Cup. Now, Alisson is mostly reliable. I don't have much to complain about Alisson, but the depth concerns me. If Alisson is not fully fit, which it seems like he's not right now, fully fit. If he's injured, we're screwed. Like Brazil, hear me out. I'm going to say this right now, okay? If Ederson or Everton are the starters, Brazil will not win the World Cup, okay? You guys can clip this, hold on to this. If that's the case, they're not going to win it. Lesson number 3, this team will live or die by the fullbacks. And understand what I mean here. They're not going to live because the fullbacks are great. They're not. You look at the options, Douglas Santos, very limited from a technical standpoint. Just plays safe. He's okay. He's okay, but he doesn't stand out. Wesley is a good player, the right back, but he's very inconsistent and error prone. I also think he's a little bit of a defensive liability, all right? And then who are the backups, right? Who are the backups? Alexandru? You're not going to win a World Cup with Alexandru starting. Ibanez? Danilo on the right back? Or Ibanez? Like, what is going on here, right? My honest opinion, what do I mean by we're going to live or die by the fullbacks? If the fullbacks do as poorly as I think they will very likely be the reason we're eliminated. They also won't offer much going forward besides Wesley. But if they do okay, if they're just not a problem, this team could win the World Cup. Okay? That's what I mean about live or die. I'm very concerned about the fullbacks, the laterais. For a country that has had Dani Alves, Marcelo, Cafu, Roberto Carlos, and even can go further back like Branco and many others, Carlos Alberto Torres, these are bad fullbacks, okay? The level dropped quite a bit, and it is going to be hard to win the World Cup with them, but it's possible as long as they don't play like complete dog shit. Lesson number 4, looking at this roster, expect a very different Brazil that you have seen in previous World Cups. It's going to be a reactive Brazil, not a proactive Brazil. Now in the group stage, I can see Brazil taking the initiative, more possession-based, attack. In the knockout rounds, with these players that he called up, especially the intense wingers, even intense fullbacks, right? Or at least like Wesley, how he plans on playing with the midfielders, probably with Casemiro and Bruno Guimarães. We'll see how this all plays out, but I think we're going to see a counter-attacking Brazil when it comes to the knockout round, especially when they play good teams. Based on this roster and what Ancelotti has been saying, expect a more reactive Brazil instead of a proactive Brazil, which is much different from any Brazil you have ever seen before. Lesson number 5 is, can Brazil win the World Cup? Now, people are going to say this was the worst World Cup qualifying cycle ever. We had a bunch of coaches. Neymar's not the same that he once was, and everything is doom and gloom. The fullbacks are shit. Everything's bad, and blah, blah, blah. You are right, okay? The World Cup cycle from 2023 till now was really bad, or bad to say the least. We had coaches like Ramon Menezes. To me, he's one of the worst football coaches of all time. We made a whole video talking about how that guy was bad, Ramon Menezes. Go check out that video. You're right about all of that, but hear me out. We have Carlo Ancelotti, one of the best coaches of all time, that has won multiple Champions Leagues, even when he didn't have the best team. Okay, we have Marquinhos and Gabriel Magalhães as the center backs. Those players are in the Champions League final right now. We also have experience, right? You have players like Casemiro there, for example, Fabinho, Neymar, players with a lot of experience. Then you have guys like Vinicius Jr. and Rafinha that are protagonists at Real Madrid and Barcelona. On top of that, you have incredible, intense players like Luis Henrique, Endrick, that brings a lot off the bench, Bruno Guimarães, that is a very good Premier League player. So, hear me out. You're telling me a team that has 2 players that are incredible for Barcelona and Real Madrid, one of their best players. 2 center backs that are in the Champions League final. One of them is the captain, right? Marquinhos. Casemiro, a veteran and a good player. Bruno Guimarães, one of the best midfielders in the Premier League. A Neymar, that is not the same as in the past, but he's still Neymar, right? Endrick, that's one of the best players in the French league. Luis Enrique, an incredible player that was one of the best players in South America before he went to Russia. Oh, I also forgot about Alisson, the goalkeeper from Liverpool. And you want to tell me Brazil doesn't have a shot in winning this World Cup? Lesson number 5 is Brazil 100% has a shot in winning this World Cup. Are they the favorites? No. They're behind France, they're behind Spain, they're behind England. They're probably a little bit behind Argentina as well. Brazil is probably around 5th or 6th. But anyone that tells you Brazil is absolutely not going to win this World Cup and they're trash, they're lunatics or hot take merchants, okay? Brazil has a shot on winning this World Cup. It is real. Now, they're not the main favorites, but they're among the favorites to win the World Cup, and they can 100% do it. And everyone, that's all for today. Later this week, we'll make a video with the tactical board breaking down how Ancelotti plans to utilize Neymar in the World Cup. It's going to be very interesting, so you're going to want to stick around for that. Drop a like in this video, subscribe to the channel. Next week, we have great content planned out as well. We have a World Cup Dark Horse video, Brazil World Cup preview, and much more. I want to thank you all very much for watching.